Hello and welcome to Stones TV. My name is Joseph Parkhouse and with me today is Nigel Seeger. In this video we're going to be previewing a Kent-ish derby of sorts, the first game of the new year, and that is going to be Welling United. So a couple of games in the last week or so then, Nigel. Two good victories for the Stones. Of course, Tunbridge on Boxing Day, but of course that game that had everything on and off the field against Farnborough, Nigel.
2 goals in each half. What you want, dominant from the early stages of the game and just carried it on. It was just your all-round good, solid performance and another clean sheet to boot. So at that point, we hadn't conceded a goal in the whole of December. Blair got his goal. Well, it was all the forwards, wasn't it? But Solwanger Smith got the second one, and then Papadopoulos and Rush. So what more could you want? Your forwards are all scoring a goal. Your defenders keeping a clean sheet and not really being troubled. Let's be honest. Farnborough wasn't. They've got their own problems, and you look at opposition managers, and they're never going to come out and say it was absolutely shocking, are they? Especially when the manager's sort of like an owner as well. So that they're never going to they always look for the positives in it, just to give their own fans some kind of comfort in that situation, but it was like a real crumb of comfort, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? I don't think they was in it, and probably played them at the right time. They was obviously 6, I think, going into the game, or they was definitely in the playoff places. So, they were up there for a reason. And but like we said Alex and I said on the commentary before the game, we were 2 sides going in different directions. We were sides coming up, they were sides going down, and you could see that in the quality, and it just all shone through. And I think that's where especially this month as well as a whole, is where our sort of professionalism has come in. Where our sort of like hybrid model of training, where we're daytime training, we've just got that little bit of extra time to work on things. They haven't had that. They had a long trip down to Torquay the week before, and another away trip as well. But we've managed those away trips. We've been down to Truro, we've been down to Salisbury in the month of December. You would never have known it looking at that. Managed it well. I think we're managing the minutes well at the moment. Like Ben Brooks seems to be, starting games and then coming off. I think he didn't start the Aveley game, did he, at the beginning of the month? I think he's he's just sort of nursing him through it, sort of thing, really. And we've now got a squad where we're getting most of our injuries back, and we know that players are gradually coming back. Jordan Hicks has come back this month as well. I know Sam Corn's out for a little bit, but Greenwich has come back into it, and we're just looking now that the squad is now sort of like starting to take shape of where we want it, and you've got that strength on the bench as well to come off, and you've also got this competition for places, haven't you?
That's it, yeah.
And that just sort of shows in the performances like Farnborough.
Yeah, and that of course takes us on to what was a fantastic Boxing Day victory against local rivals Tunbridge Angels. Of course, Nigel, a convincing win there as well, and a festive firework from Aaron Blair.
Oh yeah, what a goal, wasn't it? I say. That's just that second goal from Aaron Blair was just your player in form. We've said it many times. He beginning of the season he's getting the chances, but he wasn't taking those chances. So you could see he was kind of getting frustrated with himself, and he knows obviously what he's capable of. He scored the goals last year for Braintree to fire them to promotion. But as soon as he got that ball, it was a mistake in midfield, wasn't it? He got that ball, one touch. He knew where that ball was going, looked up, bang, and picked his spot. And and I think it helps as well. You can't underestimate the contribution of Papadopoulos and Rush in that forward line as well, because they're making the runs. And as much as you sort of know what Aaron Blair was capable of, all National League defenders, self-defenders should know what Aaron Blair is capable of, because he's a top striker at this level. Knowing it and doing something about it is something different. And I suppose when you've got other threats as well in Rush and Papadopoulos and Solwanger Smith on the pitch as well, and Bentley had been on at that stage, there's threats all over the park, and you can't, especially when it comes from a turnover like it was like that, it was bang bang goal. You know what I mean?
It's very quick to happen, isn't it?
Again, that just comes out from the training ground, doesn't it? It comes out from that training ground, and it was already 1-1 at the time, wasn't it, when Blair got his goal? But again, going back to George Fowler, that opening goal 2 minutes into the local derby against one of your longest serving players, Mr. Reliable, segregated game in front of the Tunbridge masses. They turn up thinking they're going to, best chance in 10 years of beating us, especially at home when the form they're on, and
all goes crumbling, doesn't it?
Exactly, after 2 minutes. And, you could literally see him go,
Definitely so, and of course extending that unbeaten league away run for the Stones as well. So on to that New Year's game against Welling at home at the Gallagher. So in goal for the Wings this season is Reece Lovett. He was named in the National League South Team of the Season so far, just before Christmas. He's got clean sheets to his name this season, 6 in 19, and he's been a very busy boy between the sticks, hasn't he, so far this season, Nigel?
Yeah, he has, and that's what you always find, don't you? A team that's struggling down the bottom of the table, you always tend to find like them goalkeepers kind of shine, don't you?
Yeah,
because of the actual workload they're getting through. So, although they've been losing games as well, like you say, he's got a fair number of clean sheets. So, I don't think Welling are like convincing in games, and even if they're like a lot of 1-1s and stuff like that, but they've just not climbed that table. But yeah, he's having a lot of work to do, and he's obviously keeping the score lines down, even in losing situations, isn't he? So, yeah, which could, again, it could, if they can hang on to him, it's going to sort of be beneficial to them come the back end of the season. If it does get tight down the bottom, I know there's a little bit of a gap there at the moment, but if it does get tight down the bottom, them goals that he's kept out and keeping that goal difference down could be crucial, couldn't it?
Yeah, that's it, and he's going to earn them points, isn't he, as well? Save a point by getting a draw instead of a loss.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I think he's going to be out for games like being at the Gallagher, isn't he? If you're in a struggling team and you've got a New Year's Day game against a crowd that's going to sort of be pushing 3,000, you're going to want to perform, and you're going to want to show what you're about. And
that's it.
He's certainly a good keeper, and he's certainly one that Mason's going to have to work a lot to get past him. I think unless he makes a mistake, of course, but you never wish that on any player. But it's it's a chance to shine as we go through the whole of the Welling team, isn't it? They're all going to want to come here, and it's been a pretty drab season, so they're going to want to come and to put on a show. So
that's it. Yeah. So as Nigel mentioned there, we're going to start going through the rest of the team, and in defence they have Kiori Johnson, who's a product of Arsenal's academy. They have Dave Winfield, who has a wealth of experience throughout the EFL and National League. He's previously played at Chelmsford in the south. You've got Jack Birchall, who came through the Watford Academy before joining Eastbourne Borough. And you've got Kwaku Donkor, who's on loan from Blackpool. Alex Lancashire is a familiar name to many, I'm sure. He came through the youth ranks at St Albans. He's on loan there currently. And Daniel Martin, a Kent-born Fulham Academy graduate, moved to Cardiff City, and he's had spells in the west part of the country with Torquay and Western Supermare. And finally, Maxwell Statham joined the Wings for a second spell at Parkview Road this season. So Nigel, lots of experience in that defensive line, but it's not quite clicking for them so far.
Just the press releases they put out in the last sort of 6 weeks or so, I think they sort of budgeted for a cut run.
Yeah.
So when that wasn't forthcoming, they had to sort of let a few players go that weren't sort of loan players. They couldn't renew their sort of loans, and they let a few of their forwards go. But like you say, again, we said it with other teams as well. Yes, you've got the likes of Maxwell Statham in there, but there's a lot of loan players from like the Football League players. You mentioned there Fulham, and even from St Albans, and Winfield obviously has that experience. He's got Football League experience and National League experience with the likes of Aldershot and Ebbsfleet and the like. And he could be that father figure in there. But a lot of these players, they're not used to that sort of environment of playing, especially at this time of year as well, where you're playing Saturday, Tuesday. So again, it's a gamble, isn't it? You want them to click, or one or two of them to click. They're not all going to click, but it's just about getting that right balance and the right makeup of the team. It's how they handle that pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And of course, like Nigel says, it only takes one or two to sort of get that defence and that rigidity at the back going. So that is it for the defence, and we'll take a look at the midfield next. So the midfield for the Wings consists of Zane Walker, who impressed against the Stones in the Kent Senior Cup earlier on this season. Gene Kennedy initially arrived at the Wings on loan from Colchester in February and recently made his move permanent. We've got Elliot Long, who enjoyed a breakthrough season with Wingate and Finchley in the 22-23 season, scoring 10 goals. And in the last campaign, he had a very prolific follow-up which saw him hit 22 goals in the Isthmian Premier Division. He is joined by anointed Chukwu after the pair scored 39 goals combined between them last season, so a lot of goals in their midfield. Anthony Grant has a wealth of experience, of course, throughout the EFL and coming through the ranks as a Chelsea youngster. And TJ Bramble began his time in the youth at Gillingham. He is an Antigua and Barbuda international. So Nigel, plenty of goals, plenty of experience in the midfield. Obviously they have got some potentially untapped potential in there as well from sort of lower divisions, but again, just not quite firing at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and you mentioned anointing Chukwu there. I think he's one of the ones that they had released. I think he's signed for Enfield in the last few weeks. So, you know, another one that's come up and, you know, got goals at the lower level, but just hasn't quite clicked. And
yeah,
they've released him, or they put a few players up for, you know, transfer, didn't they? And I think he was one of the ones that did go. But like you say, you've got players in there that are used to scoring goals. Mm-hmm. You know, especially from midfield as well. That's going to be sort of like, yeah, exactly. And you know, I think Gene Kennedy's one that's impressed from what I can see on the socials. You know, he's one that always seems to be in and around the man of the match award. And if they do win a game, he gets in the team of the week and stuff like that. So, you know, they've got players there that can drive the team forward.
Yeah.
So again, it's like we've said, you know, we've just got to be aware of the threats, haven't we? You know, and implement our game plan onto them and not give them a chance to settle and hopefully come away with the 3 points.
Yeah, it's like you say, obviously it's just about trying to use our midfield to take control of some of their players who, when they have a good game, seem to drag the rest of the team with them, like you mentioned with Gene Kennedy there. So
exactly.
A big task for the Stones potentially to get a hold of that one following you know, a very busy festive period so far. So up front, Martel Taylor-Crossdale turned 25 on Boxing Day. He came through the Chelsea Academy and has won the FA Youth Cup. Josh Redfern was forging a new career in New Zealand and Australia before signing for the Wings. And of course, Theo Alexandru is on loan from Dorking. He played against the Stones last month at Meadowbank in a midweek 1-1 draw. So Nigel, a very well travelled forward line. It seems to be the case in recent weeks, doesn't it? Playing players from all over. I think we had someone from, what was it, Spain or something a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously, you know, a few different players in there who offer a few different things for Welling.
Yeah, I think Josh Redfern is the one that they've sort of relied on their hopes on, haven't they? I think he's come in and he's scored, you know, a few goals and got a few assists and got goal contributions in there. So again, you know, it's going to be a task, and you know, I'm sure we're going to be up for it. And I think the biggest threat to us, I'm not disrespecting Welling here, but it's going to be us.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it and you think,
errors or something,
exactly, you think, no, it's only Welling, they're down at the bottom end of the table. You know, I'm sure George is going to have them up for it. And, you know, in front of a big crowd at the Gallagher on New Year's Day, it's just going to all be about us. And, you know, I'm sure if we continue on the same form that we've been on, we should be okay. But again, it's another game to tick off, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and again, that's not disrespectful to Welling because, you know, they've got their own battles to fight down the bottom end of the table and just trying to keep that gap there and keep themselves clear of the relegation zone so they're not dragged into it. But, you know, their season's not going to be defined on games against Maidstone or the top end teams, isn't it? It's going to be with the teams in and around them. So, you know, if they can get something from the game, then, you know, they're going to be certainly up for the fight. But it's just down to the Stones to sort of like identify those threats and manage those threats and implement your own game plan on the match. Yeah,
that's it. So of course, under the budget constraints they find themselves, plus a number of injuries, Welling have had it all to fight against so far this season, and they face a very difficult trip to the Gallagher Stadium on New Year's Day as well. So a quick overview of Welling's form so far this season. As we've already mentioned, it's not been a great season so far for them. 5 defeats on the spin eventually knocked them out of the FA Trophy. Since then, 8 points from an available 18, which of course resulted in 2 wins and 2 draws in that time. 11 league away games have only produced a couple of wins for them so far this season, so not too promising coming to a very in-form Stones. But of course, they came here on Easter Monday and bloodied the Stones' nose in a result which saw us drop 2 points at a very crucial time last season. So, Nigel, obviously the potential is there, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do have to be careful.
And they've got the same management team there as they had at the back end of last season, haven't they? So, they're obviously trying to build something there, Rob Stinger and his team. But again, they've got the potential, and I've noticed in a lot of the games when we've been doing the commentaries, they do go 1-0 up in games quite a lot.
Yeah.
But then once the team gets sort of parity and gets, it reminds me of like the Leicester and Liverpool game on the other over Boxing Day.
Once
there,
they sort of
1-0 down, and then once you get going and you get in front, it kind of they lose steam a little bit. So that's what Maidstone have got to be hoping, and they're going to go into the game full of confidence. And why wouldn't you? The December we've had, I'm sure George is going to be up for the December of the month award for the Panorama National League South. So it's all good sign for the Stones, and just whether we continue that form into the 2025.
Yeah, that's it. So may that long form of away wins continue, and away undefeated records, and as well keeping the streak at the Gallagher going into the new year. So there hasn't been an away win in this fixture in over 10 years now, Nigel. The last time the Stones got a win was here at the Gallagher back in 2021. So plenty to do for the Stones coming into this fixture. Of course, these somewhat local derbies seem to always kick up the weirdest of results at times, don't they, Nigel?
Yeah, exactly that. And it's just what we've got to be sort of on our guard against, that sort of like, as I said earlier, that sort of like dropping off, thinking it's only welling. You've got to, and I'm sure George has said it, respect each opposition, know their strengths, know their weaknesses, and know where we're going to exploit them. And if we can get an early goal like the mantra's been, for all of this month of December, get an early goal, silence the crowd, or in this case, get the crowd behind you. Yeah. And then just push them over the line. I mean, that was the same against Farnborough here in our last home game, wasn't it? Got the early goal, got the second before half time, and it makes it a much more enjoyable afternoon, doesn't it? So
that's it. Yeah. So get off the bat early for the Stones is the message from Nigel going into this New Year's Day fixture. So if you can't make the game on New Year's Day, perhaps you've had a little bit too much of a tipple the night before, then you'll be able to catch the game live on Stones Live with Fred and Chris, bringing you all the action from 2:40 p.m. Of course, if you can't make it live, then you'll be able to see them on YouTube on the Hot Take after the game, and of course you'll be able to catch them on the website with the highlights once they are posted as well. So Welling already have a win against the Stones in the Kent Senior Cup, and of course we'd love to see Maidstone get off to winning ways in the new year as well. So can the Stones continue that fantastic form going into 2025 and make it what has been a very successful campaign so far? Of course, you'll be able to catch us on the coming episodes in the new year. We won't be going anywhere, so make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or wherever you may get your podcast. Just search the Maidstone United podcast online and we should crop up somewhere along the way. But of course, best of luck to the Stones in the new year, and may it be a very, very fruitful one at that as well. So that is all from myself and Nigel today, and of course nothing's changed. It's a new year but the same us. It's time for
Come on, you Stones!